what the Holy Spirit gave me as we're studying this subject of money is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 10. And we know the prophet Jeremiah is really talking to God's people. And as he's talking to God's people, he says these words. He says, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. Jeremiah 17 and 10. God wants us to be reminded of the truth that he knows us. Inwardly, outwardly. He knows our thoughts. He knows the actions. Even before we do them, he already knows them. And so because he knows them, he doesn't want us to try and hide, to try and not tell the truth. He wants us to be open up and honest, because at the end of the day, he already knows us. And so that's really what we're going to deal with. When we think about money, I want you to think. I don't want you to think about anybody else. Don't think about your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, your friends. Think about yourself. How well do I handle money? Now, the first thing I want us to think about when we think about handling money, I want us to think about that one word, stewardship. Am I faithful over what the Lord has given unto me? Am I trustworthy to use what God has given me? We have to examine ourselves. And if we realize that we're not, or we have not been the best stewards, that's okay. God knew that you wouldn't. And so that's why you're still here today, because you now have time to do a better job. Because as we are better educated, we understand better, we gather on financial literacy, it's a new opportunity for us to start all over again. All right, so as I looked at this, and I'm not going to go through the full packet word by word, I provided you with it because I want you to have an opportunity to look over it periodically through the year. If you have questions after we finish this session, I'm available to talk. I won't give my credentials. I will say that I've been in the industry for quite some time. But the main thing about this subject of finance, I'm passionate about it because I truly believe that God has allowed me to be a steward over resources. He's allowed me to be a steward over even our children so that we could bring them up to know him, so that they could understand who he is. And now it's up to them to live out what they've been taught. We're responsible, y'all. So think about it. In the book of Genesis, the 2nd chapter, in that book, we learn so much about God's plan for mankind. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, number 1, God put the man he formed there. Where is there, y'all? There in the Garden of Eden. God made everything grow. He made it pleasant, and he made it good for food. Everything Adam and Eve needed to be safe, to be happy, to be healthy, to be filled, to be prosperous, guess where it was at? In the garden. They didn't have to go outside of that arena looking for anything because God had already given it to them. In that 2nd chapter still, 4 rivers I want us to really hone in on tonight. So when we talk about this subject of money, these rivers really paint an amazing picture about money. The river Pison, it means increase, for it flowed through the land of Havilah where there is gold. This represents prosperity. Gihon means bursting forth, represents salvation. Tigris, there's a Hebrew word for that. It means rapid, which represents success, quickly, speedily. Tigris. Euphrates, that 4th river, means fruitful. Euphrates River represents redeemed time. Time that becomes fruitful instead of time that's wasted. Even if we look at ourselves and we feel like we've wasted time, guess what? God is a redeemer of that too. And so these rivers represent for us what He wants us to see when it comes to stewardship. So let's flip over real quick. In this session that God will allow us to go through, the goals and the objectives of offering financial education during this conference, several things. Increase financial literacy, to discuss ways to have fewer credit problems, to encourage members to have an increased motivation to save, to educate on how to have less debt, how to create a family spending plan, encourage more long-term thinking and planning, increase confidence that financial goals are achievable, and to provide more awareness about consumer rights and responsibilities. All right, so that's the goal of the class this week. So we're going to be able to do that in 3 days, right? We got this. All right, in order for us to do it, the Lord gave me this agenda. This is the agenda. So tonight, I'm only going to deal with tonight. Why do I need to know? Why? I didn't even ask the question of what do I need to know about money. Because before we need to understand what, we need to understand why. Why do you need to know about money? What do you think? What comes to your mind when you think?
Survival.
Survival? Say it again.
It's a resource that we have to live by every day.
Yeah, we need it, right? How many of you don't like to have your own money? Nobody, right? Everybody likes to have their own money. I don't like to have the money that the bank have. I mean, I'm there and I can go in the vault and just look at all this, but it ain't mine. I don't like that. People used to think, oh, I know you love working at the bank. No, not like that. You can go and count all the money you own. No, it ain't mine. My mom used to call me up on the phone and she said, hey, Sybil, how much money I got in my account? I don't know. Let me pull it up. She said, you ain't got to pull it up right there? It ain't mine. So I don't look at your money all the time. I got to go into the system and pull it up. And so we don't like to hold on to other people's money for too long. If I have somebody else's money, honestly, y'all, I want to hurry up and give it back to them. I'm hurrying up. Alisa, don't I owe you $5? She said, Mama, I'll get it. Baby, don't get this today. Because look, if it's in my hands, I'm going to spend it. And then all of a sudden, I'm owing her. And I don't like to owe because she might charge me interest. Oh, you owe me $5.10. So just thinking, flip over real quick. So the why. The why I need to know about money. I'm going to flip back real quick because there are rules about money. Working hard on the job but not on myself is important. And then there are goals for success. So now we go over to what do I need to know about money. Let's define money. How do you define money? When a person asks you what is money, if a kindergartner come up to you and they say, what is money? How do you define it? What do you say? It means to buy things. Marginal trade. There you go. Exchange is a means of exchange. That's right. Something else. It's on your paper. Currency. That's right. What else? What did you say? I know. That's what I said. It kind of faded out on some of those as tried to make copies. Of course, it faded out. But money works best when it meets these 4 criteria, or 5, I think. Portable. That means you can carry it easily. It's durable. That means that you can pass it around. It can go from one person to another. It's divisible. That means you can divide it into small portions. You can buy a pack of gum with this bit of money. You can buy a Mercedes with this bit of money. So it's divisible. You don't have to use it all at the same place, at the same time, in the same way. You can divide it up. All right? Also, money is acceptable. Parts is acceptable. Everyone takes money, right? If you want to buy something, you don't give them peanuts anymore, right? Nobody really takes peanuts anymore. Or nobody really takes corn. Commodities are not as frequently given out as money is. Now people want money. When you go to the store and you want a pair of sneakers, what happened?
Can't have money.
You can have money. And money, tell me the different means of money. You can have money in different ways. You can have what?
Credit card.
Credit card, debit card,
CDs,
bonds, CDs, cash. Anybody like cash?
We don't have cash anymore.
Gold. That's right. That's right. Yeah, you got stocks. You got all types of money now that we're using. So, and the last thing is money is stable. Money is stable. So according to the Institute of Policy Studies, it will take us as a people 228 years to close the racial wealth gap. While blacks are struggling to build wealth, they are still spending money. And currently, they have $1.2 trillion buying power. Y'all know how much buying power that is for us as a people? But yet, we own the least amount of land.
That's true.
We are some of the least entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We own the least number of businesses. I guess I'm going to say successful businesses, businesses that have been in existence for a long period of time, sustainable businesses. Our children typically have to go out and find a job instead of inheriting in the business of their parents, of their ancestors. Even though we have $1.2 trillion worth of buying power, we got to rethink, y'all, what type of steward we are over what the Lord has given us. In communities all over the country, the black underclass and working class are getting worse. Black families are continuing to fall apart. Crime continues to increase. Millions of black men continue to do what? Fill the prisons. Y'all think this is a shock to the world? There's a system in place so that the black family falls apart. Without the head, who is the head of the black family? The man is supposed to be. But there, fewer and fewer of our homes have our men in there, and as a result, our boys go to the streets looking in the eyes of their fellow gang members to validate them, just like our girls. Y'all want validation, but typically you don't want it from me as fast as you do from your dad. Your dad's words are life to you. Mama, she talk that talk all the time. I hear that over and over. But when dad says it, it's gold. It's a different world, isn't it? And so we need our black men in our homes so that they can help raise up our boys, our boys so that they can become men. That last paragraph says, it's time to shift the way we invest in poor communities that are disproportionate. We want to move our overlook from a charity model to a change model. We got to stop thinking about the charities that can give to us. We got to be the change that we want to see in our communities. We can't expect other people to come into our communities and build them up. Y'all, we got to do that. And guess how we start? One of the reasons why we can't is because we take our money out of our communities and we put it in other communities to where they build better schools, where they build better parks, where they build the nicer restaurants. How many, let me ask, just for a really quick show of hands, how many of you live in predominantly black neighborhoods? Just raise your hand real quick. How many of you eat out at least twice a week? At least twice a week. How many of you eat in those neighborhoods that you live in at least twice a week?
We don't have that many in some of the communities in the first place.
And the reason we don't, Sister Jackson, is because we keep taking our money and putting it somewhere else. And I know there's another reason. I know our people think we're supposed to settle for anything. I understand that whole mindset. We want nice things too. We want you to treat us as though we're your #1 customer. instead of treating us like I'm your cousin down the street. When I walk in, I want you to say, good morning, hello, how are you? How may I help you? Instead of saying, hey girl, what's up? You know, hey. Okay, just a flashback real quick. Sorry, all right. All right, so let's look really quick. We're gonna go into the subject of money. Any questions real quick? Any questions, any comments? All right.
That comment is good, and the one you said about the fathers and all, you know, a lot of children, for one reason or another, there are a lot of single parent homes, but mentors, even if the father is not in the home, especially with the young men, I see it so much. Even in church, if the young black men have good mentors, someone just to seek out, and the women too.
Yeah.
Sometimes the dad is absent for whatever reason. We can't look at that. Just having some mentors.
Exactly. And we do know. Thank you for saying that. The athletes that we've watched on television, we hear over and over and over again their testimony of their coach or their mentor. You know, as I was listening to Tamara and Daryl as we were traveling back from Kentucky on yesterday, we were listening to the Central Park 5, you know, listening to their story. And Antoine, the young guy, one of the things that it wasn't Antoine, it was Yusef. One of the things that he said is that he was in like a youth not a youth facility, but you know how you do like it's like a Y, but yeah, like a boys club. So he was active, and his mentor there knew him, and when he was arrested, his mentor came to his defense. His mentor kept pounding, I know this boy, I know this boy, I know this boy, I know him. Y'all, we need more people like that, who know us, who know what we will and what we won't do. We need more of our men, and we need more of our women who will say, I know this child. She comes from a good family. She has a mom, she has a dad, you know, she has friends. She ain't gotten into any trouble. All of a sudden you're telling me she done did something like this? No, you gotta provide the evidence for me. We need more of that. And that's what's happening. They don't know our children. And because they don't know our children, they're labeled wolf pack. They're labeled violent, mutilators. They're labeled, you know, all these negative languages. And so we have to be careful. So money can be anything that can serve as a store of value, which means people can save it or they can use it for later. A unit of account that can provide a common base for prices, a medium of exchange, something that people can use to buy and sell from one another. It can be in check, it can be in coin, it can be in dollar, it can be in that unforsaken credit card. I don't like to talk about that much. One thing I am going to say, how many of you have credit cards? How many of you keep your credit cards in your purse? The one point that I'm going to encourage tonight, let me ask this before I even encourage it. Why? Anybody just share? I need two people to just share a quick testimony as to why you keep your card in your purse.
I might need to see something I need. That I need right now. Emergencies.
I got a whole lot of people talking about emergencies. All right.
Right now, it's hard sometimes to use cash.
They don't even want you to use
They don't
cash.
want you to use cash.
You go to the gas station.
All right. What were you going to say?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I thank the Lord that I had a chance to pay mine out.
Amen.
And I had a credit card to, you even know. I don't have mine in my purse because if I go to Macy's, they got I want to be able to get it there online, you name it. Really, you know what? It's such a trap, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
You go in the store and they say, do you have a credit card? If you open up one today, you get 25% off. 50% off. And you know, like,
But you gotta be strong.
and you know, a card, when you swipe a card, it's easier to swipe a card than it is to dish out
That
cash.
cash.
See, you don't see it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, what we saying?
Forget about that interest.
It'll be here.
It might be
It's
25, and they gave you 25% off, but you paying back.
There you go.
More than what you got.
You gotta pay it.
They ask for it. If the date is the 10th, pay it on the 3rd.
Yes, ma'am. One thing I am going to encourage you tonight, those of you who have a credit card in your purse, take it out. In your wallet, take it out. Put it in your drawer. I'm not even saying cut it up. I'm not even going to encourage that. I am saying taking it out and put it away. So that, especially if you have a balance on it. If you currently have a balance on that card, there's no emergency you need with that card. The emergency for that card right now is to pay it off. That's the emergency. That's my one point that I'm going to make tonight as we deal with this conversation about money. Take it out of your purse, put it in your drawer, pay that balance down as much as you can or off before you put it back in your purse. Sister Jackson.
Do we need one major credit card, don't you think? We may not need 9 or 10 here, there, and everywhere. But do you think, would you suggest like one major credit card?
And you don't have $1 on your debit card, you got to have some gas. What you gonna do?
You're gonna be walking.
Sister Hunter, what I am going to say is, as you get into the habit of realizing there are some things you don't need. The credit card is one of those things you don't have to have. If you got a mortgage, that's building your credit. If you have an auto loan, that's building your credit. Why does everybody need the credit card? You've already started building credit in other areas, in other ways. And I know, Sister Shirley, I already know what you're
I ain't saying nothing.
Again, I'm encouraging. And the reason I'm encouraging is because we want to be able to get to a point to where we can help the next generation to live a debt-free life. We want to get them out of the slavery that they're in with finances so they can live better. Pastor opened us up tonight, and I thank God for the Holy Spirit and how He led him into taking us into Matthew chapter 6 and in taking us into Philippians chapter 4, because the one thing he reminded us is that we are to be anxious, number one, for nothing, but also we're to take no thought. These things we put too much time into thinking about when we really need to have time to be thinking about how do we move the next generation into a relationship of knowing Christ. And y'all, I tell you, we think about all the time, the only thing we need to teach them about is salvation. That ain't the only thing. We need to teach them how to not be in debt, how to not live in bondage. Credit card debt. Debt itself is a bondage. You can't sleep at night. You can't eat well. You can't digest it good. Because you're thinking, you know, I remember my husband and I, we went out to dinner and I used a credit card. And I couldn't even enjoy that meal because I sat there and I thought about, because I had a balance on that card, how much I just paid for that meal. Because I know that at the end of that month, Mary, as you talk about that 3rd day versus the 10th day, I knew that I couldn't pay the balance off and they were going to add more interest on top of that. And I spent $30 on this meal. By the time I get finished paying that balance off of that credit card, I done spent $60. I doubled it when all I had to do was wait and pay for the meal when I could afford it. I should have went home and cooked. I had groceries. I was tired. And because I'm tired, I use it as an excuse sometimes to go out and spend money instead of cooking. Instead of coming home and fixing a peanut butter and honey sandwich. Y'all probably don't like that, but that's like my favorite. All right, really quick. Many different things have been used as money over the years. Cowrie, shells, barley, peppercorns, gold, and silver. Standardized coins or paper bills have made it easier to determine prices of goods and services. The amount of money in the system also played an important role in setting prices. So the economy can change from one condition to the other. These changes are known as deflation, and inflation. What's deflation? Famine. What'd you say? Oh, it goes down. Yeah, it's like a famine. That's right. Thanks, Shay. That's right. So deflation is when the value goes down, but the demand does what? Go up. We want more of this stuff. Yeah. Amen, Sister Jessica. But the prices just plummet. The prices go down. And then inflation is what? What are we in right now, y'all? Inflation. Yeah, we're dealing with inflation right now. Has anybody gone in Walmart in the last couple of weeks and you bought, I'll say you bought butter. I'm a Parquet user. I think, no, I'm not. I'm Blue Bunny. I'm Blue Bunny. Yeah, I'm Blue Bunny. So, you know, I used to spend $1.99 on that 8-pack. It was $3.18. It's like,
We're paying for the renovation.
that's renovation. Yeah. Y'all are wondering too, right? Why prices keep going up?
We're paying for the renovation.
We're paying for the renovation, but we're also paying for inflation. Prices are going up, and the value of our stuff, it's not changing, or it's going down. They're making it smaller. Inflation represents how much more expensive the relevant set of goods and services has become over a certain period. You pay more on everything. Too much money in the market, and the value of it is less. An example. You go in the grocery store, you spend $75, and you come out with 1 pack of meat. Value less, money. What's the problem? Anybody ever experienced that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I go to
Where do you
get
shop
meat
at?
first, though. Yeah, he's a.
Oh, you're going to get the meat first.
He's a sales
But are you
chaser.
still able to get the same amount of meat that you used to get with $75?
Well, he'll sell chaser.
I may try to spend out $10 for the gas, but yes.
He don't go out.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you are, maybe we can, you know what?
But it's
Are you an
strange,
entrepreneur, Reginald?
No.
You can be a shopper. You can shop for those of us who complain about the grocery store. And we pay you to do our shopping.
But prices are different, though. That's like, all is on 280. And milk sale $1.48.
Yep.
Rich neighborhood, but look at the prices. Walmart on 280, milk stay less than $2 a gallon.
Yeah. It's different
we
places.
spend
But let me
more
encourage
money
y'all,
than
if y'all don't work on that side of town, or you're not driving already over there, don't spend gas to go to 280.
280 gas is $2.28 a gallon.
It's cheaper than ours.
Yes. Sam's only $2.26.
It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. All right, I got to wrap it up. I know Pastor's getting ready to roll it. All right, so hey, real quick, flip over. I dealt with assets and liabilities. What are assets, y'all? What you own? What you own? What's a liability? What you own? What you own? That's right. Stuff that you don't own. So let's look at the survey real quick. I want us to quickly look at the survey so that we can answer to prepare for tomorrow's class. In the event of a crisis, I'll read them real quick and then you just check your answer. In the event of a crisis, do you have at least 1 month of pay saved up?
Yes.
At least 1 month of pay saved up. Second question, do you have at least 6 months of an emergency fund? At least 6 months of an emergency fund. Third one, what's your biggest regret about money? 1, you wish you saved more when you were younger. Or 2, you wish you learned more about investments, stocks, money management, real estate, financial planning for the future, how to execute a successful plan. Okay. Number 4, what does your income mean to you? Do you feel better about yourself based on how much money you make? Or do you feel worse about yourself if your income does not meet your monthly needs? 5, are you a saver or a spender? 6, what are your current expenses, debts? Take a look at those real quick, y'all. 7, how committed to sticking to a budget are you? 5%, 25%, 80% or better? What's your commitment? This survey is for you, because this will help you to commit to what you want to do for the future. So I don't want you to share with me. I just want you to share this with yourself so that you know where you are currently and what direction you need to go in. One last thing, rules about money. Rule number 1, always follow the 20-80 rule. Every 20% of your income should go where? First it should go to God. He gets 10%, and then the other 10% goes to who? Yourself and your savings. And what do you do with the 80%? Pay your bills. That's right. Take care of your household needs. So thank you. Father, we thank you so much for this time. Father, we thank you for your word that continues to remind us that you are calling us and to be in better stewards of what you've given us. And God, for those that are immaculate, they're wonderful, they're good, help us to see areas of growth. So God, we can do better for the kingdom's good. We love you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.